presentation on the Omnivore's dilemma. I'll present my 6 sources I found during my annotated bibliography research, as well as my main takeaways from what Michael Pollan is trying to say and how I think, but basically what I am arguing. My book sources, I found a book called Nature, Politics, and the Philosophy of Agriculture, and it focuses heavily on environmental philosophy and how the environment is impacted by the agricultural industry, specifically from the Omnivore's dilemma. It points out how that book is a question of food and farming and diet, sustainability, and how agriculture is the focus of the environmental movement. It also mentions conditions that the animals are living in, how poor they are, agrarian philosophy such as family farms like Salatin's, and economics, how there's a low feed cost, low prices for corn, etc. My second book was called A Question of Food. This chapter specifically points out how food reflects people's ways of life, how society is home-centered and people share their identities through food by what they serve, cook, and buy. It talks about the nature of food production, going from extreme ends of fair trade or localism versus McDonald's. It also talks about a little bit about history, how during World War II, the UK was facing food production shortages, and farming had to, the agricultural industry boomed to produce more food. For my scholarly articles, I found Convivalism, a philosophical manifesto, and essentially it's a philosophical take on the Omnivore's dilemma. And the main point I want to mention from this article is how humans are meaning prefix meaning with. We are co-evolving with food, so we are evolving with our food, specifically with our plants, and how without human interaction, the plants and animals would still be around. We just have domesticated them for a large-scale production. I also found one called The Omnivore's Dilemma, A Natural History of 4 Meals, sharing the same name as the book. It is essentially a summary of all 4 sections of his book and how it's formatted, and it points out a lot of key ideas and themes and main points that are important throughout the course of the book. For my popular articles, I found one called Upswing in Hunting, Fishing Bucks Trend, which is a newspaper article from the Sacramento Bee. It starts off by mentioning how there has been a decline in hunting since the 1970s. However, between the years 2006 and 2007, there was an increase in sales for hunting and fishing licenses, which is the same year that the Omnivore's Dilemma came out. It asks the question of why, and it answers that with more boomers are retiring and getting involved and need a hobby. Women are getting involved, as well as the organic food movement, which shares the same ideology from the Omnivore's Dilemma, which is to grow and eat local. The other popular article I found was For Locavores, A New Breed of Farm, and this is a reflection of a tour that the writer took of Salatin's farm. It mentions how there has been an increase in tours and an increase in fans who want to visit the farm since the production and sale of the book, and basically how just Joel Salatin has had a high number of fans, people who want to change the agricultural industry. So my take on what Pollan is trying to say, he focuses heavily on how we have to go local, and how even big organic such as Whole Foods is still a grocery market or still a supermarket. It's just as bad. How corn is the root of the problem, how we grow too much because of government subsidizing, we feed it to our animals, we feed it to ourselves, we are eating a lot of industrialized corn. And he mentions how to change it yourself. He never talks about how there could be a long-term fix for the solution concerning government involvement. So my take on this is that I agree that humans have caused more harm than good when it comes to farming, in the sense that it is unhealthy for us and the environment, with all of the corn, industrialized and genetically modified corn and chemicals, how it affects the meat people eat, which has antibiotics and potentially disease. So how do we fix this? I think pollen goes to the extreme. I think that just thinking about what you're putting into your body more consciously before you eat it, I believe that the only way that this can change is that governments need to get involved. We need to find a long-term solution, because a short-term solution such as change it yourself is not going to work. We live in a Western society. It's fast-paced, it's always evolving, but our food choices don't have to mirror that.